All right, what's going on? Welcome to the Degenerate Gamblers. We bet on everything, man. I think it may rain a little later. Who knows? It's worth putting 50 on it. So, what a weekend. What did we learn this weekend? What do you think we got out of all these NCAA football games? It was wild. Uh, you know, we learned a few things. One of the main things is that Georgia. Yeah, they probably deserve to be number one. It was a close game against Clemson at the half, but they blew them out second half. They easily covered that line that dropped from 13 and a half down to 10 and a half. They had everybody nervous. Even at halftime, you didn't know it. What were they up? Like 6-0, something like that. But they absolutely blew them out of the water second half, made a few adjustments, and just looked dominant. They look like the team to beat in the SEC. And let's stick with the SEC. What else did we learn there? Well, we learned that some of these teams, like Texas A&M, LSU, maybe don't have the coaching staffs that they thought they did. I mean, Texas A&M hung with Notre Dame, who I'm still not that impressed with. But they didn't look good. They didn't look good offensively. They made some mistakes defensively. Texas A&M legitimately could be 10, 11, 12 best team in the SEC. I mean, Florida proved what I thought. You heard me say that Miami was probably going to spank Florida. Billy Gillespie, this is your last year. I'll be surprised if he makes it through the year. I don't see them beating anyone. They're that bad. We said they were that bad before the season started. And of course, we have to close it out with LSU. Oh my God. Oh my God. LSU, what were you thinking about? I mean, you had that game won. You really had that game won. You're playing USC. There's no way you're supposed to lose to USC. For three quarters, you didn't look that bad, but you know what? It's Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly. How many coaches from Notre Dame go to other colleges to be successful? I can't think of any. I just can't. And he's just looked disorganized. And they lost. That was a terrible loss. I was on LSU. But if you watch that game and you followed us on the Discord, you know that we hedged. I mean, there was a point where LSU was up, we hedged, uh, tossed a little bit on USC, and ended up breaking even that game. Could have done the same thing with Texas A&M Notre Dame. And that's what we have to talk more about on here. The great thing about living in this age, people, is the whole hedging situation. You remember back in the day when you called your bookie at noon, you put four games in, and you just let it ride. There was nothing you could do. Now, I mean, you got some of these situations where, I mean, Georgia Southern was one Saturday where at one point we hedged a little bit. Didn't need to. Actually, I think we hit both sides of that game. I think we hit both sides at one point against Boise State. But my point is, you don't have to call anyone. You can get on your FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN bets, whatever. And if you bet an underdog that all of a sudden they're up by 7 points, Boston College last night. Yeah, I hedged that. I took Florida State last night plus 6.5 points. Didn't win it. I tried to middle it, took Boston College mine plus 17. Tried to middle the game, didn't win, but still ended up winning money in the game. We had the we had plus 600 at one point. We took Boston College money line. They won the game easily. Florida State's done. Isn't that crazy? After two games in the ACC this year, Florida State is history. They have no chance at this point. They're done. There's a coach that's probably going to get fired too. But my point is, you have to hedge. You have to hedge. If you have an underdog that's up at some point, I can't tell you how many times I've caught middles, caught both, and that's a good day when that happens. But you have to hedge. It's one of the greatest things in sports betting today. It's basically put bookies out of business because those days of calling, putting your bet in, and going to the bar, they're over with. If you stay active and you follow games and watch, there should be a point in a game where you can hedge, and it actually will save you thousands of dollars over the course of a year. It's the greatest thing in the world. So, a couple things we looked at as far as SEC. I remember I said on this the last podcast that I thought Mississippi would. I said, don't be surprised if they score 70 points, because we know what a dirtbag Lane Kiffin is. He's probably going to win this week by 70. Some of these top tier SEC teams, this is going to be a year where if they can blow a team out, they're going to blow a team out because it's going to be all about where they are in the rankings. Mississippi looked solid. Alabama, whew, that was a beatdown. They were scoring every time they touched the ball. I don't think they'll do that this weekend, but last weekend was a blowout. You had teams like Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee. These teams are all going to be in the hunt, and they have to win big. That's the way it has to be now. You look at the other. I'll tell you the American Athletic Conference (AAC). Memphis, probably the favorite to win that thing and possibly get a bid, but 10 out of 14 teams in that conference won. That's a conference you got to look at. You look at the Big 12, Central Florida, they crushed. We had them. They're probably going to win that conference. I think some other teams could possibly be in the hunt. We'll see after this weekend. Look, the Big 10 was the Big 10. I mean, Michigan, they didn't look stellar. They won. Ohio State looked great against Akron. Look at their first few games. It's amazing. I think they play another mid-major team this weekend. So you can't, it's tough to gauge Ohio State. They don't play anyone. Oregon played University of Idaho. The Vandals, is that who they are? The Vandals. Uh, what they win? 24-14. That was a frightening game. That game was 14-7 going into the fourth quarter. I believe it was 14-7. Um, Oregon didn't look that impressive. And who do they play this weekend? They have Boise State at home. Uh, and I think the line's 18 and a half they're laying. And this baffles me because if you watch the Boise State game Saturday, which I did, we had Georgia Southern plus 12 and a half. I think they won by, or they lost by 11. We covered. But Boise State's got a running back. He's no joke. Ashton Genty, 6 touchdowns, 350 yards or so rushing. He's going to be a handful this weekend in Oregon. They're going to have a tough time with him. You know, they barely got by Idaho. The line's 18 and a half, so that makes you think, okay, they're going to blow them out. They're going to get their shit together this weekend. They have to. They're going to drop in the rankings. I don't know if they can. I'll give you a little stat. The last 3 times Boise State has played Oregon in their history, they've beaten them. Oregon's 0-3 against Boise. Boise goes in there after a win against a good, I believe it's a pretty decent Georgia Southern team. I watched the game. They scored. They have some athletes. The Cobb kid, the receiver, is legit. He's the real deal. I think they probably go into Oregon. You got to watch that. 18 and a half, that's too many. It's dropped from like, I think 20 down 18 and a half. I like Boise this weekend. I like them. You look at the Mountain West, the other team I think that could give Boise a run as far as winning this conference is UNLV. UNLV's got a strong squad. They have a couple NFL players. You have to watch them. The Sun Belt, led by Appalachian State. We'll see what happens. They got to go to Clemson this weekend. They got to go to Clemson. Clemson coming off that beatdown. One would think, an educated guess, that Dabo Sweeney will get the boys together and they'll beat the shit out of App State. But, it's the Sun Belt. Sun Belt's a legit conference. If App State is that good, who knows? They could go into Clemson and beat them. I mean, look what Boston College did to Florida State last night. Everyone thought Florida State was going to get their shit together and no, they got spanked. That's Bill O'Brien, baby. I told you guys, Bill O'Brien. He's a good coach. We took Boston College last night plus 17, a little sprinkle, a little on the money line. Somebody hit me up in the Discord. I said, absolutely. Plus 600. How do you not? And Boston College covered that game easily. So, yeah, you got to watch App State going into Clemson. I'm not all over Clemson. I think App State could make that a ball game. There's a lot of games this weekend. Let's talk about Notre Dame. Let's talk about Notre Dame's win against Texas A&M. Was it that impressive? I don't think so. They have a game this weekend that everybody's going to overlook. and that's against Northern Illinois. And then their next real test is on October 19th against Georgia Tech. But you know what? Let's get it out of the way because I have a lot of games I like this weekend. This weekend's a great slate for college football. It's a great slate. Let's get into it. It's my favorite game. I'm giving this out right here. Join the Discord, go to whop.com, get on the Degenerate Gamblers, we're building this thing. We got a good crew. Have a great guest coming in Thursday to talk about NFL football and Major League Baseball, and that's what he does. He's good at it. I have to bring guys in there for this because I'm college football. I'm college basketball. It's what I do. So I bring in guys that are good at baseball and at the NFL. And that's what he does. He's coming in Thursday. It's going to be a banger. But look, let's get right into it. I'm giving you one this Saturday. I'm giving you one this Saturday. And you know what? Thank Notre Dame. And if you're a Notre Dame fan, I thank you because Notre Dame fans in the betting public, Joe Public, has this line against Northern Illinois at plus 28 and a half. It was plus 30. It's down to plus 28 and a half. I hope it stays there. It goes higher. Um, but let's just talk about a couple things. In 2021, Notre Dame, they almost lost to Toledo in week 2. Almost lost to Toledo. I think they were a 4 or 5 touchdown favorite. The very next year, 2022, they were minus 21 and a half against Marshall. Marshall beat them outright, beat Notre Dame. Now they play Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois, I think they blew out. It might have been Western Illinois this weekend. They hammered someone. They have a good squad. It's one of the better MAC teams, Northern Illinois. And they're going into Notre Dame, plus 28 and a half. Good, solid defense, good quarterback. They run the ball. If they don't turn the ball over against Notre Dame, it's going to be a good game. Going to be a good game. I do not see Notre Dame covering by plus 28 and a half. I just don't see it. This is my favorite game of the week. I love Illinois. I love Northern Illinois as an underdog. I'll sprinkle a little on that money line, which is going to be insane. It's going to be extremely high. But let's watch this. I'm going to talk about this game again on Thursday. That's my favorite game. We got a lot of other games this weekend. We got Texas playing. They're playing Saturday at noon. My mind just went blank, and they're playing. Hold on, right here. They are playing. I can't goddamn remember, but the line's 7.5. I teased it down. I want to use an alternate spread and get that thing down to 6.5. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. This is an easy one. This is an easy one. Texas playing Michigan. Jesus, how the hell did you figure that one? It's because I don't have a lot of faith in Michigan. I really don't. They're minus 7.5. You can get that line, alternate line down to minus 6.5, minus 135. I don't see how they don't blow Michigan out at home. I think Michigan is going to be out of this top 20 very quickly. I like Texas at home. Love them. Another game I like. You got Cincinnati, minus 1.5 playing Pitt. Pitt beat Kent State on Saturday, but Kent State just scored at will against Pitt. I think Cincinnati is going to just roll up points against Pittsburgh and beat them at home this weekend. Here's another one. Arkansas, a true SEC school, going to play at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is minus 7.5. I'm all over Arkansas. I think Arkansas, they have a new quarterback. He runs, he passes. They have an SEC defense. They play against good teams. I'll take Arkansas plus 7.5 at Oklahoma State all day. Another one I like, one of my favorite MAC teams, Toledo. Toledo is minus 19.5 over UMass. Toledo spanked Duquesne at home. They're playing UMass, another 1AA school this Saturday. You might see 45-14. 35-7, but I do think they cover that 19.5. Another game's going to the SEC. You got California, new school. California have to fly to the East every single weekend. They got to fly to Auburn this weekend. They won their first game. Wasn't that impressive? They play Auburn. who I like Auburn this year. This was my underdog team. They're minus 13.5 against Cal. I think you may see a blowout in this one. I think Auburn may put it on Cal this weekend. Um, and then let's talk about Lane Kiffin. UMass, Lane Kiffin, 41.5 against Middle Tennessee. 41.5. I think Middle Tennessee scores a few touchdowns this game. I don't think it's a blowout. I don't think they're going to do what they did. Who they play? Furman. Middle Tennessee will score some points. But here's what I like. I like the over in this game, 63.5. Mississippi's going to score 60. They're going to have their 35-40 at the half. I think Middle Tennessee scores a couple touchdowns. I don't know if they'll cover it, 41.5, but I do think both these teams get the over 63.5. I like that a lot. Guys, I'm giving out gems, baby. I'm giving out gems. These are games I've studied since Sunday. What are we in? It's Tuesday. I'll give you another one. Alabama just looked dominant. They looked dominant in the new regime at home. They didn't mess around. They just scored at will against Western Kentucky. I had Western Kentucky. I figured they would keep it close. New coach. No, I was wrong. Didn't have a lot on it. Put a little bit on Western Kentucky. But look, this weekend they play a decent team. South Florida, the Bulls. Used to have a good hoop squad back in the day, but they're plus 30.5 at Alabama. I think they have a good chance to cover this 30.5. This could be a good game. This isn't Western Kentucky. South Florida has some good, solid talent. They really do. I like them a lot. Let's look at Oklahoma, SEC school, minus 29.5 against Houston. Houston got their shit blown out of them by UNLV, who I like UNLV, out of the Mountain West. But Oklahoma is playing Houston. They're minus 29.5. They have to win by a lot. They have to. They're one of those teams that has to look impressive on paper to possibly get a bid. I think they do it. I think they blow the shit out of Houston this weekend, probably win by 35, 40 points. I really do. And then, again, I got to talk about Boise State. This game is wild. Boise State going into Oregon. The lines dropped from, they were getting plus 21, plus 20. Now it's plus 18.5. How do they not give Oregon a game? I mean, here's what could happen. Here's the way they may not give Oregon a game. If they make mistakes, if there's a couple fumbles, if somehow Aston Genty pulls his hamstring, turns an ankle in the first or second quarter, then they could get blown out. But if this game goes normal, I mean, Boise State's well coached. You saw them Saturday. They have good players. This is going to be a good game. Boise has the team to beat Oregon. Oregon barely got by Idaho. So I really like them. But again, there's about 5 or 6 or 7 other games I really like. Guys, get on Whop. Go to whop.com. It's not even $25 a month. Are you kidding me? We have a Discord in there. We got guys from all over the country talking about their home teams. We're getting information. We had information on this in Statesboro last week on the Georgia Southern game. We took Georgia Southern plus 12.5. They lost by 11. We covered against a very good Boise team who's going into Oregon this weekend. So there's a couple of games I really like. I already gave you one. I think Notre Dame's in trouble against Northern Illinois. I don't see how they covered 28.5. I'd get on it now. And make sure you get that 28.5. I'm going to sprinkle the money line. I've seen Notre Dame get upset recently, 2021 or 2022, Marshall. That was embarrassing. They play a weak schedule. I watched them the other night against Texas A&M, who could be the 10th best team in the SEC. And they didn't look that great. But Thursday, we're going live here. We're going live with my boy, talk about NFL, because we have a huge slate coming up. That's what he does. We're going to talk NFL futures, some props. We're going to talk about MLB and some other things. But anyways, this is a fun time, man. Get on the Degenerate Gamblers, baby. Let's go. Let's cash. Talk to you guys in a couple days. Later.